I turned onto Industrial Parkway just after 10 in the morning. Tuesday, October 15th. The date matters because that's when everything I thought I knew ended. I'd been thinking about surprising Brian at the office for weeks, months actually, since his tech startup launched. Every time I suggested visiting, he'd say they were renovating, or the team was traveling, or he'd meet me for coffee instead. This morning, I just decided to go. Bought pastries from the bakery he loved. Thought I'd drop by unannounced. The GPS said I'd arrived. 4507 Industrial Parkway, Unit C. I slowed down, looking for the building. Office complexes, maybe. Glass and steel. Something modern, like the photos on Brighttech's website. But there was just a gravel parking lot, empty except for weeds growing through the cracks. I pulled in slowly, gravel crunching under my tires. The building ahead had boarded windows, faded paint, a chain-link fence sagging around the perimeter, and swinging from a post near the entrance, a sign I couldn't stop staring at. For lease. Commercial space available. I sat there, engine still running, looking at that sign. This couldn't be right. I checked my phone, pulled up the email Brian had sent months ago, the one with the office address. 4507 Industrial Parkway, Unit C. Same address. But he'd written, "Can't wait for you to see the space, Mom. Second floor has amazing natural light." There was no second floor. The building was one story, and from what I could see through gaps in the boards, completely empty inside. I turned off the engine, got out. The October wind cut through my jacket as I walked closer. My footsteps on the gravel sounded too loud. No cars, no people, just silence and the creak of that sign swinging in the wind. I tried the door, locked. Peered through a gap in the boards, bare concrete floors, water stains on the ceiling, no furniture, no computers, no evidence anyone had worked here in years. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone, searched for Brighttech Solutions LLC Colorado business registration. I stood in that empty parking lot watching the results load. No results found. I tried again, added Denver, added tech company, added Brian's name, nothing. No active businesses found matching your search. The pastry bag slipped from my hand, hit the gravel. I didn't pick it up. I got back in my car, sat there, stared at the boarded windows. 8 months ago, I'd sat at my kitchen table with Brian and a man named Marcus Wellington, his business partner. They'd spread papers across my table, business plan, investment structure, projected revenue. Brian's hand on my shoulder, his voice steady. "This is it, Mom. This is the one that changes everything." I'd believed him, signed the papers, started writing checks, everything I'd saved, everything I'd worked for, because he was my son, and this was supposed to be our future. But I was sitting in an empty parking lot, looking at a building that had probably been vacant for years. I picked up my phone again, opened my banking app, scrolled through the deposits I'd received over the past few months. The returns, Brian said, proved the business was working. Returns that had made me so proud I'd called him in tears. If there was no business, where had that money come from? I started the car, backed out of that gravel lot, drove home in silence. That's when I knew. The business Brian had been building for 8 months. The one I'd invested everything in. The one that was supposed to change both our lives. It had never existed at all. It started so simply. That's what I keep coming back to. How something that would cost me everything began with a phone call on a Tuesday evening. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something. Can I come over?" Brian sounded excited, not desperate, not scheming. Excited. The way he used to sound when he was 10 and wanted to show me a science project. I said yes, of course, made coffee, set out the good cookies. He arrived an hour later with Marcus Wellington, tall, professional, early 40s, carried a leather portfolio, wore a blazer, shook my hand firmly and called me Mrs. Hartwell. First impressions matter, and Marcus made a good one. They sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd graded papers for 35 years, where Brian had done his homework as a kid. Marcus opened his portfolio, pulled out documents, a business plan, financial projections, market analysis. "We're launching a tech company," Brian said, Small business software, revolutionary approach. His eyes were bright, hopeful. Marcus has the Silicon Valley connections. I've got the engineering expertise. We just need capital for the first phase. Over 6 months, I gave them everything. The first investment, $85,000 from my savings account. Money I'd built over 35 years of teaching. Money for travel I'd never taken. For house repairs I'd postponed. For security and retirement. 2 months later, Brian came back. They needed more capital. The venture investors wanted to see commitment from early backers. I withdrew $60,000 from my IRA, paid the early withdrawal penalties, 10% gone before I even wrote the check. 4 months in, a third round, $35,000 from my home equity line of credit. I'd sworn I'd never touch that money, but Brian showed me projections, partnership agreements forming, revenue starting. Mom, this is the round that makes us. By year 2, you'll be making 40% annually. $180,000. Everything I had. Because he was my son. And I believed in him. My neighbor Margaret noticed before I did. Margaret Davies, 65, retired librarian, lives next door. We'd been in garden club together for 15 years. She'd see me out working in the yard and I'd be distracted, distant. She started bringing casseroles, leaving them on my porch with little notes. Thought you might need this. She never asked what was wrong, just showed up. That's Margaret. My daughter Sarah was different. Sarah Hartwell Chen, 45, physical therapist, married to Tom Chen. 2 kids, 12 and 9. Lives in Fort Collins, about an hour and a half away. We used to do Sunday dinners. Every other week, she'd bring the kids. They'd run around my yard while we cooked. But after Brian's business launched, the dinners stopped. Sarah was busy, she said, but I think she knew something was off. She'd always defend Brian, make excuses for him. Even when we were kids, she'd cover for her big brother. I had a financial advisor, Tom Mitchell. 58. Been managing my retirement accounts for 10 years. Professional, careful. His office has photos of his boat everywhere. That's his retirement dream. When I told him about Brian's investment opportunity, Tom sent me an email. I still have it. Linda, 40% returns aren't realistic. This sounds too good to be true. Please be careful. I ignored him. That's on me. I wanted to believe in Brian more than I wanted to be cautious. Looking back, there were signs, red flags I explained away. Marcus only communicated by phone or email after that first dinner, never met in person again. When I suggested the 3 of us get coffee, Marcus was always traveling, always in meetings, always unavailable. And the office. Brian said they were renovating, every single time I asked to visit. Mom, it's a construction zone. I'll bring you when it's done. You'll love it. I'm 67 years old, retired high school English teacher. I should have known better. But here's the thing about being a mother. You want your children to succeed. You want to believe in them. Even when little voices in your head say something's wrong, you silence them. Because family loyalty matters. Because you don't want to be the parent who doubts, who questions, who doesn't trust. That's my flaw, I guess. I avoid conflict. Always have. If something threatens family peace, I smooth it over. Make excuses. Give people the benefit of the doubt. It served me well in some ways, kept relationships intact, but it also made me vulnerable to my own son. 3 months after that first investment, I got a check in the mail, $8,500. First return, the memo line said. I actually cried, called Brian immediately. I'm so proud of you, I said. My voice broke. He laughed. Mom, this is just the beginning. By year 2, you'll be making this quarterly, maybe monthly. I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. I used to have a morning routine, coffee at the kitchen table, newspaper, crossword puzzle. Brian would text me every Sunday at 9. Morning, Mom. Just 3 words, simple, but it meant he was thinking of me. 6 months ago, the text stopped. I told myself he was busy, building his business. Too focused to remember little things like Sunday texts. I kept up with the garden, though. Roses need deadheading. Weeds don't stop growing just because your world's falling apart. Margaret said I was out there more than usual, digging, pruning. She was right. It was the only place my mind could settle. At night, I'd look at the photos on my mantle. Brian at 10, missing his 2 front teeth. Brian at graduation, in his cap and gown. That smile. The same smile he'd given me when he asked for the 3rd investment. When did it change? Or had I just stopped seeing clearly? My grandchildren. Sarah's kids. I hadn't seen them in months. Sarah said they were busy with school, sports, activities. But I wondered if she was keeping them away, if she'd seen something I hadn't, if she knew her brother better than I wanted to admit. That kitchen table, where Brian and Marcus had spread all those documents. I'd touch the spot sometimes, where Brian's hand had rested on my shoulder, where he'd said, "This changes everything, Mom, for both of us." He was right about that. It did change everything, just not the way he promised. It was Carol from book club who planted the first real seed of doubt. We were at the coffee shop after our meeting, Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks after that first return check. I'd been telling her about Brian's business, proud mother talk. She'd smiled, nodded, then said something casual. "Oh, I should look them up in the business directory. Tom's firm is always looking for tech partners." Carol's husband is an attorney, corporate law, the kind of connections that could help Brian. I'd given her the company name, Bright Tech Solutions, spelled it out. She pulled out her phone right there, searched, frowned. Not showing up. "What city?" "Denver," I said. She tried again, shook her head. Nothing. Maybe they're too new? Sometimes it takes a while to show up in the directories. I'd smiled, agreed, said that made sense. But driving home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Pulled over, got out my phone, searched Bright Tech Solutions Denver. The website came up, professional, clean. Photos of office spaces, team bios, everything looked legitimate. But underneath, below the polished surface, no actual addresses, no phone number except a generic contact form, no press releases, no articles, no LinkedIn profiles for the team members. I told myself it was nothing. New companies take time to build online presence, right? That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Finally got up at 2 a.m, sat at my kitchen table with my laptop, searched county business records, the public database, typed in Bright Tech Solutions LLC. No results found. Tried variations. Bright Tech. Bright Tech. Bright Tech Solutions, Inc. Nothing. I felt ridiculous. Sitting there at my kitchen table in my bathrobe, searching for my son's business like some kind of detective, like I didn't trust him. But I kept searching. Secretary of State website, business entity database. Every variation I could think of. No active businesses found matching your search. Maybe they hadn't filed yet. Maybe it was in process. Maybe I just didn't understand how these things worked. But it sat heavy in my chest, that uncertainty, that small, quiet voice saying something's wrong. The next morning, I did something I'm not proud of. I drove to that address, 4507 Industrial Parkway. Just drove by slowly during business hours, 10:30 on a Friday morning. Empty parking lot, boarded windows, no cars, no people, no sign of any business operating there. I didn't stop, just drove past. Went home, sat at my kitchen table, made notes, dates, amounts. What Brian had told me versus what I was seeing. The list grew longer. Patterns started forming. Saturday afternoon, I called Brian. Casual, light. "Hey, honey, I was thinking maybe I could swing by the office next week, bring lunch for you and Marcus?" Silence on the other end, just for a beat. Then his voice different, tighter. "Mom, we're working remotely this quarter. Supply chain issues pushed back. The office renovation." "Oh," I said. "I thought you said it was almost done." "Plans changed. You know how these things go." I did know. I'd been a teacher for 35 years. I knew when someone was dodging, when someone's story shifted. "Maybe we could do lunch anyway?" The three of us? I'd love to catch up with Marcus. He's traveling, big investor meeting in San Francisco. When will he be back? Mom. His voice had an edge now, irritation. Is there a problem? Do you not trust me? And there it was, the flip. My question about lunch became me not trusting him, my son, my Brian, who I'd raised, who I'd supported through everything. Of course I trust you, I said, heard myself saying it, smoothing it over, avoiding conflict. I just wanted to see you. I'm busy, Mom, building a company. It's 24/7. I'll call you next week, okay? He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, that conversation replaying, how quickly he'd turned it around, made me the problem, made me doubt myself. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I didn't understand tech businesses. Maybe this was normal and I was just an old woman who couldn't keep up. But that night, Sarah called. My daughter. Her voice careful, measured. Mom, Brian called me. He's upset. He said you're checking up on him. I closed my eyes. I just wanted to visit the office. He says you don't trust him, that you're asking invasive questions. She paused. Mom, he's trying really hard. After the divorce, after losing his job. This business is everything to him. Can you just give him space? Did he tell you where the office is? What? The office. Did he ever tell you the address? Silence. Then, why does that matter? Did he? Mom, I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember. Look, I have to go. The kids need dinner. Just try to be supportive, okay? He's your son. She hung up too. I sat at my kitchen table, spread out everything. The business plan, the investment agreements, the copies of checks I'd written, started making notes in a fresh notebook. Every conversation, every time Brian had dodged a question, every excuse about the office, every time Marcus was unavailable. The business plan sat on top. I'd read it so many times, felt proud of how professional it was, how thorough. I opened my laptop, picked a phrase at random from page 3, leveraging blockchain integration for small business optimization, copied it, pasted it into Google. The first result was a business plan template, free download. My hand stopped moving. I clicked the link, scrolled through the template. There it was, word for word. Leveraging blockchain integration for small business optimization. I checked another phrase, another match. Entire paragraphs, copied directly from the template. The market analysis, the competitive advantages, the revenue projections. All of it, copied. I sat there, looking at the screen, then at the business plan, then back at the screen. My son had downloaded a free template, changed the company name, and presented it to me as his revolutionary business. I closed the laptop, pushed everything aside, put my head down on the table, on the same table where he'd spread these papers, where he'd put his hand on my shoulder, where he'd promised this would change everything. That's when I started keeping track, not just notes, evidence, every lie, every inconsistency, every piece of this that didn't add up, because if the business plan was fake, what else was? I made an appointment at the bank the next morning, told them I needed copies of all statements for the past year. The branch manager, a woman named Patricia, led me to a small conference room. Fluorescent lights, glass table, a pitcher of water no one would drink. She spread the statements in front of me. Month by month, I'd requested everything, my checking account, savings, even the HELOC activity. Is there something specific you're looking for? Patricia asked, professional, careful. The deposits, I said. I need to see where they came from. She pulled out 3 statements, highlighted 3 deposits, $8,500, $11,200, $9,800. The returns Brian had sent, the proof the business was working. These came from wire transfer, Patricia said. Let me pull the routing information. She left, came back 5 minutes later with a printout. My hands were shaking before she even said anything. I could see it on her face, that careful concern, the way you look at someone when you're about to deliver bad news. Mrs. Hartwell, these deposits, They all originated from the same account. She pointed to the routing number. This is a personal Wells Fargo account registered to Brian Hartwell. I stared at the numbers, the columns, the highlighted deposits, my own money. Brian had taken my money, borrowed against credit cards probably, or taken it from somewhere else and sent it back to me, called it returns, called it profit. I sat there looking at those numbers, my own money. He gave me my own money back and called it profit. 8 months. 8 months I believed him. The coffee Patricia had brought me sat untouched, too hot. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I could hear someone laughing in the lobby. Normal life happening while mine fell apart. "Mrs. Hartwell, are you okay?" I wasn't, but I nodded, asked for copies of everything. Patricia printed them without questions, put them in a folder, squeezed my hand as I left. I drove straight to the county clerk's office, stood in line. When my turn came, I asked to search business registrations. The clerk, an older man with reading glasses, helped me access the computer terminal. Business name? Brightex Solutions, LLC. He typed, waited, shook his head. "Nothing in Colorado. Want me to try variations?" "Please." We tried everything. Brightex Solutions, BT Solutions, every combination. "I'm sorry," he said. "No business by that name has ever been registered in Colorado. I can print you a certificate if you need it. Official no records found statement." "Yes," I said, "please." He printed it, notarized it, handed it to me in a stiff envelope. No business, no registration, no legal entity, nothing. That evening, my nephew came over. Sarah's oldest boy, 23, works in IT. I'd asked him to look at some emails, told him I was having technical problems. He didn't need to know more than that. I showed him the emails. From Marcus Wellington, 47 messages over 8 months. Updates, reports, investment details. "Can you tell me where these came from?" I asked. "Like the actual location." He opened his laptop, showed me how to view email headers, the hidden information, IP addresses, metadata. "See this?" He pointed to a string of numbers. "That's the originating IP address. Every email from this Marcus guy, same IP address." "What does that mean?" "It means they were all sent from the same internet connection." He pulled up another screen. "And this IP address? It's registered to a Comcast residential account in Denver. Not a business, not an office, someone's home." "Can you tell me whose home?" "Not without more access, but..." He looked at me, really looked at me. "Aunt Linda, whoever Marcus is, he's sending these from a home internet connection. Same place, every single time." I thought about Brian's address, his apartment, his Comcast internet. "Thank you," I said. Gave him $40 for pizza. He left. I sat at my kitchen table, spread everything out. Bank statements, the no records found certificate, the email headers my nephew had helped me print, the plagiarized business plan. The picture was forming, clear, undeniable. The next day, I called the property management company for 4507 Industrial Parkway. A woman named Jennifer answered, friendly, helpful. "I'm calling about one of your tenants," I said. "Brightex Solutions, Unit C..." Pause. "I'm sorry, who?" "Brightex Solutions. They've been leasing Unit C for about 8 months." "Ma'am, Unit C has been vacant for 18 months. We've had no tenants in that space since the previous occupant moved out." Papers rustling. "I can send you our lease records if you need them. For your records." "Please," I said. Gave her my email. The records came through an hour later. Unit C vacant since March of the previous year. No Brightech. No lease applications from anyone named Hartwell or Wellington. 4 pieces of evidence. Clear, documented, undeniable. But I needed more than evidence. I needed to know what to do with it. I found Karen Morrison through a Google search. Elder Law Attorney, Denver. Her website talked about financial abuse, fraud, protecting seniors from exploitation, even from family members. Her office was in a professional building downtown, clean, organized. She had a bowl of butterscotch candies on her desk, offered me one as I sat down. "Tell me what's happening," she said. I did. All of it. The investment, the discovery, the evidence I'd gathered. She took notes, asked questions. Her face stayed neutral, professional, but I could see it. That tightness around her eyes. She'd seen this before. "Linda, this is fraud," she said when I finished. "Textbook affinity fraud. A family member exploiting your trust for financial gain. What can I do? You have options. Civil suit to recover funds. You could file with the district attorney. This might qualify as wire fraud, which is federal. Criminal charges are possible." She leaned forward. "But I need you to understand. If you pursue this, your relationship with your son is likely over, at least for a long time." I sat there, butterscotch dissolving on my tongue. Sweet, wrong for the moment. "He's my son," I said. "I know. But he stole from me." "Yes, and if I do nothing, you lose everything," he continues, "possibly targets others, and you live with the knowledge that you let it happen." I thought about Helen, my sister. Had Brian approached her too? "What do I need?" I asked. "Keep gathering evidence, document everything. Don't confront him, don't let him know you're investigating. We need to build an airtight case." I left her office with a retainer agreement, a plan, and a weight in my chest that hadn't been there before. That evening, Sarah called, her voice tight, angry. "Mom, what are you doing?" "What do you mean?" "Brian called. He's upset. He said you've been asking questions, checking on the business, going to his building." "Mom, why are you doing this to him?" "Doing what to him?" "Making him feel like a criminal. He's working so hard. He's trying to build something, and you're treating him like he's lying to you." I closed my eyes. "Sarah, have you seen the office?" "What?" "Brian's office. Have you been there?" "I don't. No, I haven't. But that doesn't mean, has he ever shown you the business license? The registration papers? Anything official?" "Mom, why does that matter? Why are you—" "Because I need to know if I'm crazy," I said, voice rising, couldn't help it. "I need to know if I'm the problem, if I'm just an old woman who doesn't understand, or if something is actually wrong." Silence. Then Sarah, quieter. "I have to go. The kids need dinner." She hung up. Brian showed up at my house an hour later. Didn't knock. Used his key. Walked right into my kitchen where I had everything spread out on the table. All the evidence, the bank statements, the county records, everything. He stopped, stared at the table, then at me. "Mom, what is this?" "You tell me," I said. "Are you?" He shook his head, laughed. But it wasn't humor. "Are you investigating me? Your own son?" "Where's the office, Brian?" "What?" "The office. 4507 Industrial Parkway. I went there, empty building. No one's worked there in over a year." His face changed, closed off. "You're checking up on me. You're actually checking up on me like I'm some kind of criminal." "Then show me I'm wrong. Show me the business license. Show me Marcus. Show me anything real. I don't have to prove anything to you. You took $180,000 from me." "I didn't take anything. You invested. There's a difference." "In what, Brian? What did I invest in? There's no business registration, no office. The business plan is plagiarized. The returns you sent me came from your personal bank account. So tell me, what did I invest in?" He stood there, silent. Then he walked out, slammed the door. I sat back down at my kitchen table, looked at all the evidence spread in front of me, documents, statements, records, proof. And then I found out I wasn't the only one. I couldn't stop thinking about Thanksgiving. 15 years ago. Brian was 27, just gotten his first real engineering job, good salary, benefits, future ahead of him. He'd come over early that day, found me in the kitchen, wrestling with the turkey, 20-pound bird, too big for the roasting pan. I was trying to make it fit, getting frustrated. "Here, Mom, Let me help." He'd taken over, trimmed the turkey, seasoned it properly, showed me the technique his roommate had taught him. We'd worked side by side, his sleeves rolled up, my kitchen warm, smelling like sage and butter. "When I make it big," he'd said, stirring the gravy, "I'm buying you that house in Arizona, the one with the pool you're always looking at." "I don't need Arizona," I'd said. "I just need you to be happy." He'd smiled, that real smile, not the one from the business pitch, not the one that came with requests, just Brian, my son, happy in my kitchen. "I am happy, Mom. I really am." He'd meant it then. I know he did. That memory sat heavy now. Same kitchen, same table, but everything cold, different. I sat at that table now, morning coffee in front of me, untouched, cooling. All the evidence spread out. Bank statements, county records, email headers, the plagiarized business plan, Karen's business card. The morning light came through the window, hit the papers, made the numbers sharp, clear, undeniable. I picked up the business plan, the one Brian had presented, the one I'd read with such pride, ran my fingers over the pages, all those promises, all those projections, all copied from a free template. My coffee sat there, getting cold. I used to start every morning at this table. Coffee, newspaper, crossword, simple, peaceful. Brian's Sunday texts. "Morning, Mom." Those texts stopped months ago. I told myself he was busy, but he wasn't busy. He was avoiding me. Because he knew. He knew what he was doing, knew I might figure it out. I opened a drawer, pulled out a fresh notebook, blue cover, lined pages, wrote at the top, "Next steps." Not what Brian did, not evidence, just next steps. Because I had a choice now. Keep being the mother who smoothed things over, who avoided conflict, who put family loyalty above everything, even herself, or become someone different, someone who protected herself, even from her own son. I thought about my flaw, that conflict avoidance, that need to keep peace at any cost. It had served me in some ways, kept relationships intact, made me a good mediator, a patient teacher, a understanding mother, but it had also made me vulnerable, easy to manipulate, easy to guilt, easy to convince that questioning meant not trusting, that protecting myself meant betraying family. I didn't fail as a mother. The thought came clear, certain. He failed me as a son. There's a difference. I picked up my phone, called Karen Morrison's office, left a message. "This is Linda Hartwell. I want to file a civil suit. Please call me back." Then I opened my email, changed my password, something Brian had never known, changed my bank password, credit card logins, everything. Called the credit bureaus, put a freeze on my credit. No new accounts could be opened in my name. Made a folder on my computer, labeled it Evidence Bright Tech Fraud. Started scanning documents, everything dated, everything organized. My neighbor Margaret knocked. I'd seen her watching from her window, the way she did when she was worried. "Come in," I said. She held a thermos of coffee. "Yours is probably cold." I laughed. Couldn't help it. She knew me. "Thanks," I said. She sat down, looked at the papers spread across the table. Didn't ask, just looked. "How bad is it?" she finally said. "Bad." "Are you okay?" "No." I poured the fresh coffee. "But I will be." She squeezed my hand, left without asking more questions. That's Margaret. Knows when to push, knows when to just be there. I found the letter that afternoon, cleaning out a box of old papers, looking for Brian's Social Security card, something Karen said I might need. The letter was from a therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, dated 6 years ago, addressed to me. "Dear Mrs. Hartwell, thank you for attending Brian's family session. As discussed, gambling addiction is a disease, not a character flaw. Recovery requires ongoing support and accountability. Brian has made excellent progress, but relapse is always possible. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have concerns." I'd forgotten about this, or wanted to forget, Brian's gambling problem, the one he'd had after his divorce. Before his divorce? During? The timeline blurred. He'd gone to meetings, Gamblers Anonymous, said he was better, said he had it under control. I sat there holding that letter, thinking about desperation, about disease, about whether addiction excused what he'd done. It didn't, but it explained it. The doorbell rang. Sarah. I could see her through the window, face set, determined. I opened the door. "We need to talk," she said. Walked past me into my kitchen, saw the papers, stopped. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Protecting myself." "From Brian? From your own son?" "Yes." She stared at me. "You're going to destroy him, but you know that, right? If you file charges, if you make this public, his career, his reputation, everything. He destroyed himself, Sarah. He made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting my birthday. This is fraud, systematic, planned, over 8 months. He's your son, and I'm a person." My voice stayed level, calm. "With rights. I matter too." "Of course you matter. But Mom, he's family. You don't turn on family." "I'm not turning on him. I'm protecting myself from him. There's a difference." She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "I can't believe you're doing this. After everything. After he's worked so hard." "Worked hard at what, Sarah? There's no business, there never was. You don't know that." "I do. I have the evidence, the bank statements, the county records, all of it." "Then you've been spying on him, investigating him. What kind of mother does that?" "The kind who wants to understand why her son stole $180,000 from her." Sarah's face changed. "That much?" "Yes." Silence. Long. Heavy. "I can't." Sarah's voice cracked. "I can't be in the middle of this. I have to go." She left. Didn't say goodbye. I stood in my kitchen, alone again. Looked at the photos on my wall, the family photos, Brian at 10, Sarah at 7, both of them on Christmas morning, happy, innocent. I took down Brian's graduation photo, the one from college, his cap and gown, that smile. Didn't throw it away, just put it in a drawer, not erasing him. But I needed to see myself, not just as his mother, as me, the kitchen table, where he'd signed me up for this, where I'd trusted him, where I'd believed every word. Now it was where I'd gathered the evidence, where I'd decided to fight back. Same table, different meaning. My phone rang. Karen Morrison. "Linda, I got your message. Can you come in tomorrow, 9 a.m.? "Yes." "Bring everything, all the evidence. We're going to build an airtight case." I hung up, sat down at my kitchen table, looked at the notebook. Next steps. Listed them out, one by one. File cease and desist letter to Brian. Change all passwords. Done. Freeze credit. Done. Organize evidence. In progress. Meet with attorney. Scheduled. Prepare for Brian's response. I sat in the lawyer's office the next morning. 43 years I'd been a mother, and I realized I'd forgotten how to protect myself. Not anymore. Karen slid the retainer agreement across her desk. "Once you sign this, there's no going back. You understand that?" "I understand." "Your son will know. He'll be served with papers. It will get ugly." "It's already ugly." I signed, dated it, slid it back. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now," Karen said, "we file the cease and desist letter. We demand he stop all contact. We start the discovery process for a civil suit, and we see how he responds. And if he doesn't comply, then we escalate. Criminal charges, wire fraud, identity theft if we can prove he opened accounts in your name." I nodded, felt, nothing. Not angry, not sad, just done. I drove home, changed my locks, called a locksmith, had new keys made. Brian's key wouldn't work anymore. Posted the cease and desist letter to his apartment. Certified mail, signature required. Then I sat at my kitchen table, made a fresh pot of coffee, opened the newspaper, and for the first time in 8 months, I felt like I could breathe. Karen called me 3 days after I signed the retainer agreement. Her voice was careful, the way people sound when they're delivering news you don't want to hear. "Linda, I need to ask you something. Do you have a sister? My stomach dropped. Helen. Why? She called my office this morning. Said she saw my name on some paperwork you left out. Said she needs to talk to me about Brian. I closed my eyes. How much? She didn't say, but Linda, I think your son approached her too. Helen came over that afternoon. My older sister, 71, retired nurse. Lives in Colorado Springs, about an hour away. We'd always been close. Talked every Sunday. She'd bring homemade cookies to every visit. Oatmeal raisin. Always. She didn't bring cookies this time. I'm so sorry, she said before she even sat down. I should have told you. I was so embarrassed. Tell me what happened. She sat at my kitchen table. Same table where I'd spread all my evidence. Same table where Brian had pitched his business to me. He called me about a year ago, Helen said. Said he had this amazing opportunity. Tech company. Said you were already invested. Said you were making great returns. My hands gripped my coffee cup. He used me to convince you. Yes, he said, Aunt Helen, Mom's already in for 6 figures. This is the real deal. She looked down. I gave him $45,000, my retirement savings, everything I had left after Uncle Jim died. $45,000, 3 investments, $15,000 each, over 6 months. He sent me returns too, checks. Just like you, I thought. Her voice broke. I thought I was securing my future, like you were securing yours. I reached across the table, held her hand. Did he give you the same business plan? Yes, Marcus Wellington, Stanford MBA, the whole pitch. The business doesn't exist, Helen. I know that now. After you started asking me questions last week, after I couldn't sleep, I looked it up. Nothing. No business, no Marcus, nothing. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I was ashamed. I'm 71 years old. I'm supposed to be smarter than this, and he's my nephew. I didn't want to cause problems in the family. I understood. God help me, I understood completely. Karen's going to want to talk to you, I said. You're a witness, another victim. It establishes a pattern. Helen nodded, wiped her eyes. Whatever you need. He can't do this to other people. That evening, Sarah called. Again, but different this time. Quieter. Mom, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Okay? Did Brian ask you for money for the business? I paused. Yes, a lot of money. How much? $180,000. Silence. Long enough, I checked to see if she was still there. Sarah? He told me $20,000. He said you gave him $20,000 as a loan, seed money. Her voice shook. He said it was a gift. He said you were happy to help. I gave him $180,000 over 6 months. It wasn't a gift. It was an investment. Oh my God. Did he ask you for money too? He asked me to co-sign a loan for equipment, computers. I said no, I didn't have the credit for it. Tom would have killed me. She started crying. Mom, I'm so sorry. I thought you were just being paranoid. I thought you didn't understand his business. It's okay. It's not okay. I defended him. I told you to back off, and he was lying. To all of us. Sarah, I have to go. I need to think. She hung up. I sat there, thought about how many people Brian had approached, how many had said no, how many, like Helen, had said yes and were too embarrassed to tell anyone. My phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. Mom, can we talk? I want to explain everything. Please. Coffee tomorrow? 10 a.m. at our usual place? B. I stared at the text. Our usual place. The coffee shop near his old apartment, where we used to meet every other week, before the business, before everything. I called Karen, read her the text. Don't go alone, she said immediately. If you go at all, I'd prefer you didn't. I need to hear what he has to say. Linda. I'll bring someone. Margaret, maybe. But I need to hear him. She sighed. Fine. Public place. Witness with you. Don't sign anything, don't agree to anything. Record the conversation if Colorado allows it. Single-party consent state, so you can. The next morning, Margaret drove me, sat at a table nearby, close enough to see, far enough to give us space. Brian was already there, looked thinner, tired, hadn't shaved. When I sat down, he tried to smile. "Mom, thanks for coming." "What do you want to explain, Brian?" "Everything. The business. It's been harder than I thought. The market crashed. Our vendors pulled out. The investors got cold feet." "What market?" The tech market." "Show me the business license." "Mom, that's not the point. Show me Marcus." He looked down. "Marcus isn't involved anymore. He backed out." "When?" "Months ago." "Before or after you took my money?" Silence. "Brian, there is no business. There never was. The county has no record of Bright Tech Solutions. The address you gave me is an empty warehouse. The business plan is plagiarized from a free template. The returns you sent me came from your personal bank account." His face changed, closed. "You've been investigating me?" "Yes." "Your own son?" "Yes." He stood up. "I can't believe this. I came here to explain, to apologize, and you're treating me like a criminal." "Are you apologizing?" "What?" "You said you came to apologize. Are you? Apologizing?" He stared at me. "I'm sorry things didn't work out the way I planned." "That's not an apology." "I'm sorry you feel hurt." "That's not an apology either." He grabbed his jacket. "I can't do this. I try to talk to you. I try to make things right. And you're impossible." He left, walked out of the coffee shop, left me sitting there. Margaret came over, sat down. "You okay?" "No, but I expected that." Karen sent a settlement offer to Brian's apartment 2 days later, certified mail, demanding $120,000 in restitution. No criminal charges filed if he complied. His response came through his attorney, a man named David something. The letter was cold, legal. Mr. Hartwell denies all allegations of fraud. The business venture failed due to market conditions beyond his control. Ms. Hartwell's investment was voluntary and carried inherent risk. No settlement will be offered. Further, if Ms. Hartwell continues to make defamatory statements regarding Mr. Hartwell's character, legal action will be pursued. I read it twice. Handed it to Karen. "Empty threat," she said. "Classic defense attorney posturing, but it means he's lawyered up. This is going to trial." "Can we win?" "Yes, you have documentation, clear evidence. Multiple victims." She paused. "But I need to tell you something else. When we ran Brian's credit check as part of discovery, Linda, he opened credit cards in your name." The room tilted. "What?" "3 cards, $40,000 charged, all in your name. He used your social security number, your information." "Identity theft." "Yes, federal offense. This goes beyond civil fraud now." I felt sick. "My credit?" "Destroyed, but we can fix it. File police reports, dispute the charges. It'll take time, but we can fix it." I went to my doctor that week, routine checkup. She took my blood pressure, frowned, took it again. "Linda, you're at 160/95. That's stage 2 hypertension. Are you under stress?" "Yes." "Significant stress?" "Yes." She prescribed medication, told me to reduce sodium, manage stress levels, get more sleep. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Manage stress. Right. Margaret brought me dinner that night, casserole. Terrible, as usual. But I ate it anyway. She sat with me while I pushed food around my plate. "Garden club next Thursday," she said. "You should come." "I don't know if I can." "You should. Get out of this house. See people." Thursday came. I went. Sat in Carol's backyard with 8 other women. Talked about roses, fertilizer, pruning techniques. Someone asked about Brian's business, how it was going. "It didn't work out," I said, kept my voice even. Casual. "Oh no, I'm so sorry." "These things happen." Carol caught my eye. She knew. Her husband's an attorney. She'd probably heard things through him. But she didn't ask. didn't pry, just handed me a cookie, squeezed my shoulder. After the meeting, she pulled me aside. "If you need anything at all, we're here. Thank you." That was all, but it helped. Karen called Friday afternoon, voice urgent. "Linda, we have a problem. Brian's landlord called, said Brian gave notice. He's moving out of his apartment, end of the month." "Where's he going?" "Landlord doesn't know, but Linda, if he leaves Colorado, if he moves out of state, jurisdiction becomes complicated, collection becomes harder. We need to move fast." "What do we do?" "File for emergency mediation. Get him in front of a mediator before he leaves. It's our best shot." "Can we do that?" "I'm filing the paperwork now. We should have a date within 2 weeks." 2 weeks, 14 days. Would Brian even still be here? I hung up, sat at my kitchen table, looked at the calendar. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks from Monday, October 29th. Would he be there? Would he run? I had 14 days to find out. The mediation office was in a professional building downtown, 14th floor, glass walls, views of the mountains, conference room C long table, leather chairs, a pitcher of water and glasses no one would touch. I arrived 15 minutes early with Karen. We set up on one side of the table, laid out folders, documents, everything organized, labeled, dated. The mediator arrived next, woman in her 50s, gray suit, warm but neutral expression, introduced herself as Patricia Reeves, 20 years doing family mediation, firm handshake. "I've reviewed the initial filings," she said. "This is a complicated situation. My role today is to facilitate conversation and hopefully reach a resolution both parties can accept. I'm neutral, not a judge, not making decisions, just helping you talk." Brian arrived at exactly 10, with his attorney, David Chen, young, maybe 35, expensive suit, briefcase, the kind of lawyer who looks confident even when his case is weak. Brian didn't look at me, sat on the opposite side of the table, looked thinner than the coffee shop, more tired, wore a button-down shirt I'd bought him for Christmas 3 years ago. Patricia opened with ground rules, respect, no interruptions. Everything discussed stays confidential unless we reach an agreement. We could take breaks any time. Then she turned to Karen. "Ms. Morrison, you filed this mediation request. Would you like to begin?" Karen opened her folder. "Thank you. We're here because my client, Linda Hartwell, invested $180,000 in what her son, Brian Hartwell, represented as a legitimate business venture. That business never existed. We have extensive documentation proving fraud. We're seeking full restitution, legal fees, and damages." David, Brian's attorney, held up a hand. "My client disputes the characterization of fraud. This was a business venture that unfortunately failed. Ms. Hartwell's investment was voluntary. She understood the risks." "Then let's look at the evidence," Karen said. She slid the first document across the table. Bank statements, mine, highlighted in yellow. 3 deposits to Ms. Hartwell's checking account, October, December, February, labeled as investment returns from Brightex Solutions. She slid another document. "Here are the routing records. All 3 deposits originated from Brian Hartwell's personal Wells Fargo account, not a business account, his personal checking." Patricia leaned forward, studied the documents. "Mr. Hartwell, can you explain this?" Brian looked at his attorney. David said, "My client used personal funds to cover temporary cash flow issues. That's not unusual in startup environments." "Cash flow from what revenue?" Karen asked. She slid another document across, official seal visible. "County clerk's certificate. No business named Brightex Solutions has ever been registered in Colorado, not as an LLC, not as a corporation, not as a DBA. It doesn't exist." The sound of paper sliding across that table. That's what I remember most, the quiet, professional, devastating. Patricia studied the certificate. "Mr. Hartwell, is there a business registration?" Silence. Then Brian, quiet. We were operating as a partnership. We didn't. We hadn't formalized the structure yet. Karen slid the next document. Secretary of State records. No partnership agreements filed, no assumed business names, no tax ID numbers issued to any entity involving Bright Tech, Brian Hartwell, or Marcus Wellington. Who is Marcus Wellington? Patricia asked. Allegedly, Mr. Hartwell's business partner, Karen said. She opened her laptop, turned it so everyone could see. Email headers. We have 47 emails from Marcus Wellington to Ms. Hartwell, business updates, investment reports, all sent from this email address. She pointed. When we traced the IP address of origin, every single email was sent from the same Comcast residential internet connection. Mr. Hartwell's home address. Patricia looked at Brian. Mr. Hartwell. Marcus worked remotely sometimes, from my place. 47 emails, all from your apartment, never from anywhere else. Brian said nothing. Karen slid the property records across. The alleged office location, 4507 Industrial Parkway. Property management confirms this space has been vacant for 18 months. No lease was ever signed by Bright Tech Solutions or Brian Hartwell. Documents kept sliding, one after another. The credit card statements, charges to gambling websites, online poker, sports betting, $40,000 in 3 months. And finally, Karen said, pulling out the last folder. Credit cards, 3 accounts, opened in Linda Hartwell's name, $40,000 charged, all without her knowledge or consent. Identity theft, federal offense. Patricia sat back, looked at the documents spread across the table, looked at Brian, at his attorney. Mr. Chen, do you have documentation contradicting any of this? David shuffled his papers. We have witnesses to Mr. Hartwell's intentions. Character witnesses. People who can testify. I have witnesses too, Karen said. Would you like to hear from them? Patricia nodded. Please. The screen on the wall lit up. Video conference. Tom Mitchell, my financial advisor, appeared, sitting in his office. That photo of his boat visible behind him. Patricia swore him in. Karen asked the questions. Mr. Mitchell, you manage Ms. Hartwell's retirement accounts? Yes, for 10 years. Did Ms. Hartwell consult you about this investment? She did. 3 months before she made the first investment, she forwarded me the business plan, asked my opinion. What did you tell her? I told her it looked too good to be true. 40% annual returns aren't realistic in legitimate business ventures. I sent her an email, documented my concerns, advised her against investing. Did she invest anyway? Yes, 3 times. $85,000, $60,000 from her. IRA, which triggered early withdrawal penalties, and $35,000 from her home equity line. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. The screen changed. Helen appeared. My sister, sitting in her living room, looking nervous. Patricia swore her in. Ms. Porter, what's your relationship to the parties here? Linda is my sister. Brian is my nephew. Did Brian approach you about an investment? Helen's voice shook. Yes, about a year ago. He said he had a tech company, said Linda was already invested, said she was making great returns. He showed me the same business plan, introduced me to Marcus Wellington over the phone. I invested $45,000, everything I had left after my husband died. Did you receive returns? Yes, 3 checks, same as Linda. I found out later they came from Brian's personal account. Thank you, Miss Porter. The screen went dark. Karen pulled out printed statements. We also have written testimony from the county clerk, the property manager, and a forensic accountant who reviewed all financial records, all confirming no business existed. Patricia looked at Brian, really looked at him. Mr. Hartwell, I'm going to ask you directly. Was there ever a functioning business called Bright Tech Solutions? Brian's attorney started to speak. Brian held up his hand. Fine, Brian's voice cracked. Fine, there was no business. Are you happy? Is that what you want to hear? The room went silent. There was no business. I had debts, gambling debts, bad people. I owed $85,000 and they were threatening me. I thought I could win it back. I thought if I just had capital, I could fix it. The first time Mom gave me money, I tried. I really tried to start something, but I lost it. Gambling. And then I owed more. So I asked for more. The returns? I borrowed from credit cards, paid her back, made it look like profit, borrowed more. It kept growing. I was going to fix it. I swear I was going to pay everyone back. His attorney put a hand on his arm. Brian, it doesn't matter anymore. Brian looked at me. Actually looked at me. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do. I sat there, looking at my son, crying, breaking down, confessing. Part of me wanted to reach across the table, hold him, tell him it was okay, but it wasn't okay. You are my son, I said, kept my voice steady, measured. And I love you. But love doesn't mean letting you destroy me. I gave you everything. And you used that love as a weapon. That's what hurts the most. You didn't just steal my money. You stole my trust, my security, my peace. So yes, I love you, and I'm protecting myself from you. Both things are true. Brian put his head down, shoulders shaking. Patricia gave him a moment, then spoke. Mr. Hartwell, we need to talk about resolution. Ms. Hartwell is within her rights to file criminal charges. Wire fraud, identity theft, both federal offenses. You could face prison time. David cleared his throat. What's being offered? Karen pulled out the settlement agreement. $120,000 restitution, 10-year payment plan, $1,000 per month. Wages can be garnished if necessary. 5-year no-contact order. Brian stays away from Linda unless she initiates contact. In exchange, Linda agrees not to file criminal charges, contingent on payment compliance. If he misses one payment, the criminal complaint can be filed immediately. And the identity theft charges? Brian pays the $40,000 in credit card debt, works with credit agencies to clear Linda's name, takes responsibility on his credit report. David looked at Brian. You'll have to get a job, a steady job. They'll garnish your wages. I know. This will follow you. Background checks, credit reports, everything. I know. You want to take this? Brian looked at me one more time. Do I have a choice? Patricia spoke. You always have a choice. You can reject this. Go to trial. But Ms. Morrison has compelling evidence. You've admitted fraud in this room, and the alternative is criminal prosecution. Brian picked up the pen. Where do I sign? Karen showed him. 4 places. Initials, signature, date, the sound of pen on paper. That's the second sound I'll always remember, after the document sliding. Brian signed, pushed the papers across the table. When he signed the papers, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. Relieved, yes, but mostly just tired, like I'd been holding my breath for 8 months. Patricia witnessed, notarized, made copies for everyone. This agreement is legally binding, she said. Both parties have recourse if terms are violated. I strongly suggest you both honor this. Brian stood, gathered his things. His attorney whispered something to him. Brian stopped at the door, turned back. Mom, Goodbye, Brian, I said. He left, door closed, silent. Karen collected our copies, organized the documents, all those papers, all that evidence, now transformed into legal agreement, binding, enforceable, real. You okay? She asked. I looked at the conference table, where all the documents had been spread, where the truth had been laid out, where my son had admitted what he'd done. I will be, I said. 6 months after the mediation, Brian made his first payment, $1,000. Direct deposit from wage garnishment, his new job, retail management at a sporting goods store, not engineering, not what he'd trained for, but employment, steady, garnishable. I'd received $6,000 so far, $114,000 still owed. If he stayed compliant, I'd be 77 when the final payment came through. My credit was still a mess. The identity theft charges were being disputed. Credit bureaus moved slowly. Karen said it would take a year, maybe more, but it was in process. The $40,000 in fraudulent debt was being transferred back to Brian's name, where it belonged, the home equity line of credit. I'd been paying it down, $500 a month, every month, the balance finally under $20,000. I'd taken a part-time job, consulting work, teaching financial literacy at the senior center. The irony wasn't lost on me, but it paid, and it helped. Retirement at 67 wasn't happening. My financial advisor, Tom, ran the numbers. If I kept working until 70, kept making the HELOC payments, lived carefully, I could still retire. Smaller than I'd planned, no travel, no Arizona house with a pool, but secure, stable. Mine. Brian lost his engineering job. The background check revealed the fraud judgment. No tech company would hire him. So, retail, 40 hours a week, weekends, holidays, wages garnished before he ever saw them. He'd also lost his apartment, moved into a smaller place, studio. Sarah said he'd been sober for 10 months, attending Gamblers Anonymous, 3 meetings a week. I didn't know if that was true. We hadn't spoken. The no-contact order was still in effect, 3.5 years remaining. Sometimes I wondered if I'd reach out when it expired. Most days, I didn't think about it at all. Sarah and I weren't close anymore. Not like before. She'd called 4 months after the mediation, apologized, said she should have seen it, should have believed me. We talked now, once a month, careful conversations, surface level. She brought the kids by twice since then. Brief visits, awkward, but we were trying, rebuilding slowly. Some relationships don't survive these things intact. You just hold what's left and hope it's enough. My sister Helen and I were closer now than we'd ever been. We met for coffee every Friday. Neither of us mentioned Brian. We talked about books, garden projects, her bridge club, my consulting work, practical things, present things. We'd both lost money, both been betrayed, but we had each other. That counted for something. Margaret brought me coffee one Thursday morning, spring, early April. We were planning the garden together. She'd brought seed catalogs, charts, her thermos of coffee that was somehow always perfect. "Your roses are coming back beautifully," she said, pointed to the bushes along my fence. "New growth, green, strong." "So am I said. She smiled, squeezed my hand. Didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. We spent the morning planning, which annuals to plant, where to put the new perennials. She taught me a new pruning technique, cut away the dead branches, make room for new growth. "See," she said, snipping carefully, "you take out what's not working, what's draining resources, and the plant comes back stronger." I looked at the roses, then at my house, my life. "Yeah, I see." She never said, "I told you so." Through everything, all the casseroles, all the worried looks, all the times she sat with me in silence, she just stayed. That's Margaret. Tom Mitchell helped me rebuild my financial plan. No-cost consultations. Every month we'd meet, review the accounts, adjust the strategy. He waived his usual fees, said it was the right thing to do. "Your retirement's back on track," he said at our March meeting. "Scale down, but you'll get there. Maybe 70 instead of 67, but you'll retire." "That's enough," I said, and I meant it. 3 years working longer, smaller budget, no luxuries, but secure, independent, mine. That was enough. Karen Morrison called me in February, asked if I'd be willing to speak at a senior center workshop, financial fraud prevention, elder abuse awareness. "You don't have to," she said. "I know it's personal." "I'll do it," I said. I spoke to a room of 30 seniors, told them my story. Not all of it. Just the warning signs, the red flags, how to protect yourself, even from family. 3 people came up to me after, said they recognized similar patterns, said they were going to ask questions, look at documents, protect themselves. If my story helped one person, it meant something. Karen also referred me to a nonprofit, Elder Abuse Prevention. They asked me to join their advisory board, quarterly meetings, strategy, outreach. I said yes, my kitchen table. Where this all started, where Brian had spread those fake papers, where I'd signed away everything. That table looked different now. Fresh flowers. Margaret brought them. Yellow tulips. A jigsaw puzzle I was working on. 1,000 pieces. Slow. Patient. Putting things back together. My morning coffee routine came back. Coffee at the table. Newspaper. Sometimes the crossword. Simple. Peaceful. Mine again. I'd created new photo albums, one labeled My Life. Photos from my teaching years, my garden, my friends, travels I'd taken before all this, accomplishments, moments that were mine. Brian's childhood photos. I put them in a separate album, stored it in the hall closet. Not thrown away, not erased, but not on display. Not the story I looked at every day. I found a letter one afternoon, cleaning out a drawer, in my own handwriting, from the worst of it. 8 months ago, I'd forgotten I'd written it. You are not stupid. You are not a bad mother. You loved someone who hurt you. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And you will survive this. You always do. I kept it, put it in my wallet. On the hard days, I read it, reminded myself. I survived. I was surviving. The garden came back that spring. Perennials I'd thought were dead. Roses I'd neglected during the worst months. All of them coming back, stronger. You're a perennial too, you know, Margaret said one morning. We were weeding together, coffee on the porch rail. You come back every time. I looked at my garden, my house, my life. Small, quieter than I'd planned, but growing, healing, mine. Carol from book club invited me back. March meeting, mystery novel. Nobody asked about Brian, nobody pried. Just, here's a cookie. Have you read this one? Small things, normal things. They mattered. Sarah's daughter called me. My granddaughter, 12 years old, school project about family history. Could she interview me? We talked for an hour. About teaching, about growing up in Colorado, about her great-grandparents. She didn't mention Brian, neither did I. Just stories, history, connection. When we hung up, I cried, not sad tears, just grateful. That something survived, that some relationships could be protected, that I'd chosen carefully what to keep and what to let go. Margaret's daughter called one afternoon. She'd heard about what happened. Her own brother had borrowed money, never paid it back. She didn't know what to do. Can I ask you some questions? She said. Yes, I said. Ask me anything. I told her what helped, what I wished I'd done differently, how to protect yourself while still loving someone. She thanked me, cried, said it helped to hear from someone who understood. I was becoming something I hadn't expected, a resource. Someone who'd survived, someone who could help others through it. Not the future I'd planned, but a future nonetheless. 18 months after the mediation, my life looks different than I imagined. But it's mine. Brian's still making payments. $18,000 received, $102,000 remaining. He hasn't missed one. His retail job is steady. The garnishment happens automatically. I don't have to chase him, don't have to ask. The system does it. The no-contact order expires in 3.5 years. Sometimes people ask if I'll reach out when it's over, if we'll reconcile. I don't know. Most days I don't think about it. Some days I hope he's getting help, getting better. But that's not my job anymore. He's my son, but I'm my own person. Both things are true. My house is paid off, always has been. The home equity line of credit is down to $12,000. Another 2 years and it'll be gone. I'm still working. Part-time consulting. Teaching financial literacy twice a week at the senior center. I'll retire at 70. Not 67 like I planned, but I'll retire. Comfortably, securely, on my terms. My credit's been repaired, took 14 months, but it's done. The fraudulent accounts are gone. My score's back up. I can breathe again. I'm okay. Not wealthy, not traveling the world, not living in Arizona with a pool, but okay. And that's enough. I speak at senior centers now, once a month, sometimes twice. Protecting yourself from financial fraud. Elder abuse prevention. The nonprofit Karen connected me with asked me to join their advisory board. I said yes. Last month, a woman came up to me after a workshop, said her son had been asking for money, said she recognized the patterns I'd described. She asked questions, looked at documents, discovered he was lying. She protected herself. Because of my story. If helping one person means my story matters, then it matters. My granddaughter's college fund is in a protected trust now. Sarah's other child too. Educational trusts, managed by a third party. No one can touch them, not even their parents. When they turn 18, the money's there, for school, for their futures. I made sure of that. I updated my will, my estate plan. Everything's protected now. Clear beneficiaries, contingencies, trusts that can't be manipulated. What I have left is secured. For the people I choose, on my terms. I learned things I wish I didn't have to learn, but here's what I know now. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Even if it's family, especially if it's family, loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. Those aren't opposites. They're both necessary. Family is complicated. Boundaries aren't betrayal. They're survival. Ask questions. Look at documents. Don't take anyone's word for it, not even your children's. Verify, always verify. And know this, you can love someone and still say no. You can forgive and still hold them accountable. You can grieve what you lost and still build something new. I'm not bitter. I'm just different. Stronger, maybe. Sadder, definitely. But here. What would you have done in my situation? Could you have said no to your own child? Would you have filed charges? Let me know in the comments, because I still wonder sometimes if I made the right choices. Most days, I think I did. Some days, I'm not sure. But I'm standing, and that counts for something. I'm rebuilding. It's slower than I hoped. Some days are hard. I see Brian's coffee mug in the back of my cupboard and have to look away. I hear a song we used to sing together and my chest tightens. Those moments pass. They always do. But I water my garden. I show up for book club. I have coffee with Margaret every Thursday, lunch with Helen every Friday. I teach my workshops. I help where I can. It's not the retirement I imagined, but it's mine. Nobody's taking it from me again. Sometimes I drive past that empty warehouse, the office that never was, 4507 Industrial Parkway. The fire lease sign's still there, swinging in the wind, and I think that's where it ended. But also, that's where I began, the real me, the one who fights back. I sit at my kitchen table every morning now, same table where Brian spread those fake papers, where I signed away everything, but it looks different now. Sunlight through the window, fresh flowers Margaret brought yesterday, my financial planning spreadsheet open on my laptop, my budget, my goals, my future, not his promises, mine. Margaret's bringing dinner tonight, book club tomorrow, coffee with Helen on Friday. I'm not alone. I chose my family this time, the ones who stayed, the ones who showed up, the ones who didn't ask me to be smaller so they could feel bigger. I'm here. I'm standing. I'm rebuilding one day at a time. And you know what? That's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.